I'm a straight guy. It's already 20 past 8 now, but the seat next to me is still empty. I slid the screen restlessly and opened the search. Leo. After seeing his puppy avatar, I hesitated for a moment. My fingertips paused but accidentally swiped across the screen and entered the chat box between him and me. The last sentence still on the page made my cheeks flush again. Honey, can you save a seat for me? This is inappropriate. I've lived for more than 20 years and haven't even held a girl's hand, yet I've been called husband out of the blue like this? And it was a guy calling me husband? This is so outrageous. I quickly scrolled the page and turned off my phone. The professor was speaking passionately, slapping the podium from time to show his excitement, but my thoughts drifted away. I'm quite handsome. This is really not just self-confidence. I've been confessed to by quite a few girls since childhood. Well, also by some boys. I don't date because I'm into pure love. I'll only light up the lamp for my crush. Okay. A boy confessed his love to me yesterday. Leo saw it too. I rejected that boy's confession on the spot. Who knew that guy would be so persistent and try to force a kiss on me? I was so scared that my hair stood on end. No, dude, I'll never like a guy in my life. Please, just let me go. I kept backing away, turned around and ran, not forgetting to drag Leo, who happened to be passing by, along with me as I poured out my troubles. I was so scared. Leo, you have to keep this a secret. If others find out that a guy confessed his feelings to me, I'll be laughed at for the rest of my life. It's probably because he was in a bad mood yesterday. He didn't even comfort me. He walked with me with a little sullen face for a short distance and then shook me off, leaving a sentence saying he had something to do and then ran away. Then he didn't return to the dormitory until 11 of the clock at night. I had just finished taking a shower at that time. I saw him just standing stupidly in the dormitory, with a blushing face and wet eyes staring at me. He didn't respond to me when I called him. As soon as I walked closer to ask him what was wrong, good heavens, he reeked of alcohol. Since when did the goody two-shoes academic genius start drinking? Are you out of your mind? I waved my hand in front of his face with a smile, but to my surprise, he suddenly grabbed my palms with both hands. They were warm as he leaned in and kissed me on the lips. Honey, so soft. I was petrified on the spot. The hand he grabbed was sweating uncontrollably. I felt that the 18-degree air conditioning might still be a bit too warm. Honey, in the suffocatingly quiet dorm room, that sticky voice called out again. I swallowed 6 times and finally managed to find my voice. Leo, are you into guys? You've got the wrong person. I said this, feeling a bit awkward and trying to pull my hand away. But Leo, drunk as he was stubborn and kept holding on, staring at me blankly and repeating honey over and over. I'm a straight guy. Where have I ever seen such a scene? I felt a tingling sensation on my scalp. I can't even remember how I managed to get Leo to settle down, but when I finally lay in bed, he was already tucked into his own bed, wearing pajamas and breathing softly. It even made me toss and turn and couldn't fall asleep, so I just got up at 6 to run laps on the track. After my shower, I left the dorm early, too embarrassed to even look toward Leo's bed. Who would have thought I'd get a text from Leo at? When I read it, I felt like I couldn't understand Chinese anymore. Honey, can you save a seat for me? Why can't I make sense of those first 2 words? Shouldn't he have sobered up from the alcohol? What's going on? Does Leo have feelings for me? This thought scared me so much that I almost stood up right then and there in class. Fortunately, a hand pressed on my leg to stop my action. Wait a minute. A hand? I slowly turned my head and saw Leo sitting next to me, smiling at me. Husband, thank you for saving the seat for me. For the first time, I felt like my seat was incredibly uncomfortable. Leo must have just taken a shower. That faint scent kept drifting toward my nose. I subconsciously held my breath, lowered my head to flip through my book, and pretended not to hear him to avoid embarrassment. But it turned out Leo, who was usually distant with everyone, couldn't read my hint. Instead of stopping there, he moved closer, his arm brushing against mine, and called out again. Husband? The pages of the book I was holding became wrinkled from gripping too hard. Husband, why aren't you answering me? Leo deliberately lowered his voice and dragged out the ending syllable, sounding almost like he was acting cute. The girl in front of us seemed to have heard our commotion. She turned around several times to glance at us. Her face didn't show impatience. Instead, she looked somewhat amused, her eyes darting back and forth between Leo and me before turning to whisper head to head with the girl beside her. I couldn't stand this strange atmosphere anymore. Finally looking up at Leo, I could no longer contain myself. Stop calling me that. I'm straight. I admit my tone might have been a bit urgent, but it's understandable, don't you think? Which straight guy could tolerate being mistaken for gay? How am I supposed to get married in the future, you ask? But I really didn't mean to be harsh with Leo. I saw him pause for a moment, blink a few times, look at me for a few seconds before averting his gaze, and then press his lips together in silence. Was he upset? What kind of logic was this? I hadn't even gotten mad at him for calling me hubby randomly. Are all gay people this unreasonable? This class felt like it dragged on forever. I had never thought the dismissal bell could sound so sweet. I was just about to say something to ease the tension and ask Leo if he wanted to grab lunch together, but he suddenly stood up and left in a flash, leaving my hand awkwardly suspended in mid-air. I scratched my head. I heard that gay people tend to be more sensitive. Had I really hurt him just now? After all, he's always been a reserved person. This must have been the first time he summoned the courage to reveal his sexuality, right? Even if I don't like him, I shouldn't have gone too far and caused him emotional distress. The more I thought about it, the more guilty I felt. Watching Leo's retreating figure grow smaller in the distance, my heart began to churn with anxiety, so I unconsciously quickened my pace and ran over, grabbing his wrist firmly. Sorry about that. Was my tone a bit harsh just now? I didn't mean to be fierce with you. I'm just straight, so when you called me, but before I could finish my sentence, he interrupted me. It's okay, hubby. I didn't have time to correct his address immediately, staring intently at his smiling eyes, trying to find any trace of displeasure. But he soon lowered his eyelids and stopped looking at me. I haven't even thanked you yet for grabbing the seat. Wanna go play an escape room tomorrow? My treat. See, I knew he was still upset. If he weren't, why wouldn't he even look at me? Even his usual dimples disappeared when he smiled. To mend our roommate relationship, I caught up to him and turned my head to answer, sure. Even though I had plans to play ball with friends tomorrow, it didn't matter. This felt like the first time Leo and I were hanging out alone. Even though we shared a dorm room, he really didn't fit in with the rest of us three. Leo was clean-cut and delicate-looking, speaking with gentle patience. He was nothing like our rough and tumble, burly selves. With the other two roommates, we were super casual. If someone teased me, I'd just fling my sweaty, stinky shirt at them. Once, I accidentally hit Leo in the head with it. Seeing him frown as he handed the shirt back to me made me so embarrassed I wanted to disappear right then and there. I don't know why, but whenever I'm with him, I just can't be too casual because I'm afraid of offending him. Hubby, this is my first time playing, and I'm so nervous. Before heading out, Leo was applying sunscreen in front of the mirror while I leaned against the doorframe waiting for him. I was just about to correct his address and tease him, if you keep calling me that, I'm not going. But when our eyes met in Leo's bright gaze, my thoughts naturally took a turn. Besides, the other two roommates weren't around, and no one else would misunderstand, so what I actually said became, don't call me that when we go out later. It's not good if others hear. After saying that, I instinctively straightened up to see Leo's reaction. He obediently said oh and murmured I know with a somewhat deflated tone, looking quite pitiful. For a split second, I felt a bit anxious and almost blurted out, you can call me that in private, but luckily, I managed to stop myself just as my mouth opened. After all, I'm a straight guy. Leo is really timid. When he wrapped his arms tightly around my neck, clinging to me and refusing to let go, burying his face hard against my chest, the only thought in my head was this single idea. When they came out, his face was still flushed, panting from fear. His hair was a bit messy from rubbing against me repeatedly, and he clung to my arm as if still shaken, saying, that really scared me, honey. Words of comfort got stuck in my throat. I stiffly raised my hand, hovering it next to his waist before hesitating and moving up to gently pat his back. Don't be afraid. We had dinner outside first before heading back. By the time we arrived at the dorm, it was already nearly 9 o'clock in the evening. When he saw me return with Leo, Daniel's expression showed a bit of surprise. Why did you two come back together? For some reason, I felt inexplicably guilty, so I quickly brushed it off with a joke. We just ran into each other on the way. You ask too many questions. As I said this, I pushed Daniel inside, but my peripheral vision involuntarily caught Leo again. His expression remained indifferent. Uncontrollably, I recalled how relaxed he looked in the afternoon with a smile crinkling his eyes while we were out playing. He seemed much more vivid then than he does now. The student union organized a dinner gathering for the weekend. I wasn't particularly keen on such an optional event. I turned my head to avoid Daniel's hold, but accidentally met Leo's expectant gaze. So, I agreed almost instinctively. As I spoke, I glanced at Leo again casually. Seeing his clearly smiling eyes, I couldn't help but smile back. It's just a meal together. Is it really that big of a deal? Do you like me that much? It's strange that in the past, when boys liked me, I would have been so embarrassed I wished I could bury myself in a coffin. But just thinking about Leo liking me, I didn't feel any repulsion at all. Of course, the fact that I'm straight remains undeniable. The dinner was held at a rather upscale restaurant. Upon arriving, I instinctively pulled out a chair for Leo, signaling him to sit on the inside, but he didn't even look at me. He walked straight past and sat opposite me. I paused as if nothing had happened, just before Daniel gave my shoulder a heavy pat. When did you get so gentlemanly? You even pull out chairs for me. I shot back a joking insult, then glanced at Leo. He was looking down while washing dishes, seemingly completely unaware of what was happening around him. A vague sense of discomfort rose up in my chest. Was Leo intentionally distancing himself from me? Could he be angry because I hid the fact that I went out with him yesterday when talking to Daniel? Please don't misunderstand. Although I'm straight and can't have feelings for him, I thought we could be good friends. Who can stand it when a friend just ignores you? The exquisite dishes suddenly lost all their flavor. I stood up in irritation. Michael, where are you going? I didn't turn around, just gave a perfunctory wave. To the restroom. The cold water splashing on my face instantly helped me cool down a bit. When I stood at the door, right hand on the handle ready to push it open, the conversation between two people around the corner outside made me freeze in place. Don't tell anyone else, but a few days ago Leo suddenly dragged me out for drinks. We lost a game, and as part of the dare, I had to call the first person on my contact list honey for half a month. I originally thought he wouldn't agree to such a silly dare, but who knows if it was because he got dizzy from the drinks or something else. He agreed right away. Can you guess who that lucky person was? It was Michael. Doesn't everyone know he's still traumatized by guys confessing their feelings to him? I wonder if Leo got beaten up in the last couple of days. I could tell the speaker was a guy who hung out with Leo quite a bit. My fingers gripping the doorknob turned pale from how hard I was squeezing it, though I didn't even realize when it happened. So it was just a prank. Leo doesn't actually like me. Then, I figured I should feel relieved, but my heart sank to the bottom of my stomach anyway, against my will. I told myself this emotional reaction was just a normal response to finding out the truth after being played for a fool. I took a breath and walked back inside as if nothing had happened. Since Leo was just teasing me, I didn't need to walk on eggshells anymore or worry about hurting his feelings. Even if I ignored him and gave him the cold shoulder, he had only himself to blame. A peeled shrimp suddenly appeared in my bowl. Following those slender, fair arms upward, I met Leo's sticky gaze. His eyes curved like crescent moons, full of reflections of my face. I looked at him with a cold expression, and his relaxed demeanor instantly became uneasy. I saw him part his lips and mouth silently. Hubby, what's wrong? He looked so pitiful. Then again, could he really put on an act like that? I didn't think so. Besides, Leo is such a shy person. Without an excuse like this, how would he dare confess to me openly? He probably wanted to start with fake affection and let it slowly turn real. The more I thought about it, the more plausible it seemed, and the tightness in my chest instantly eased up. Even though I didn't have any intention of dating him, I still couldn't be too hurtful. With that thought in mind, I peeled 2 shrimp and put them into Leo's bowl. I saw Leo pause for a moment, then give me a sweet smile, which only confirmed my guess even more. I knew it. Leo actually loves me so much. My mood lightened, and I accidentally noticed a small bead of sweat on the tip of Leo's nose as he kept his head down eating. I glanced at the tissue box next to me, hesitating whether to grab some tissues for him, when he suddenly looked up right into my eyes. My heart skipped a beat, and my eyes quickly darted away. Leo's voice was slightly hoarse from the spiciness, and in that second, I felt like my heart was about to jump out of my chest as I subconsciously straightened my back. Sweat quickly broke out all over my body. No way, calling me hubby in front of so many people is really not good. What should I do now? Should I quickly cut him off and stop him? If it's too late and he's already called out, do I have to scold him to tell him not to say that randomly? But won't he cry if I do that? Forget it. Could it be that I'm turning gay just like this? No, I'm straight. Michael, hand me a tissue. Leo spoke as calmly as ever, his voice soothing. My heart sank heavily. My tense body slumped back against the chair. I couldn't quite name my feelings. Relieved yet strangely suffocated. Michael, why are you zoning out? Can't you hear Leo asking for a tissue? I stared blankly as Daniel beside me leaned over, grabbing the box of tissues to hand to Leo. Leo squinted his eyes and gave him a sweet smile. I didn't know why I turned to glare at Daniel. When Daniel met my gaze, he jumped in surprise and exclaimed, Michael, why is your face so red? Like a monkey's butt. I glared even harder at Daniel. He really had to bring that up. I rubbed my face hard with both hands, catching a glimpse from the corner of my eye as Leo smiled at me. My face got even redder. Why smile so sweetly at me for no reason? No matter how you try to tempt me, I'm still straight. By the time we got back to the dorm, it was already a bit late. The other two roommates had rushed their showers and climbed into bed. Seeing Leo look tired, I urged him to go shower first. About 15 minutes later, the sound of running water in the bathroom stopped. Immediately after, the door opened. I'm done showering, husband. The voice came from right beside my ear, so soft that only the two of us could hear it. But I still jolted, instinctively turning my head to check on the two roommates lying in their beds. Seeing them engrossed in their phones with headphones on, I relaxed, murmured "okay," and bent down to organize my clothes. I didn't look at Leo. It took about half a minute for his faint scent to fade from my nose before I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Only then, hearing the sound of him climbing into bed, did I dare close the drawer I had torn apart and grab my pajamas to get ready to wash up. As I turned around, a flash of blinding white caught my eye. Leo was wearing only an oversized t-shirt and no sleep pants. His long, fair legs were slightly taut from climbing the bed ladder, revealing smooth, well-defined lines. I noticed a small red mole on the back of his thigh. Michael, why are you getting a nosebleed? The noisy shout snapped me back to reality. I raised my hand to touch my nose and indeed felt warm liquid. Daniel yanked his headphones off, leaned half out of bed to look at me, and continued his exaggerated fuss. What's going on, Michael? What shady stuff were you looking at? My heart tightened. For a moment, I felt the embarrassment of having my secret exposed and instinctively glanced toward Leo's bed. He had already climbed into bed and pulled up the covers. Hearing the commotion, he sat up slightly, poked his head out, and looked at me with curiosity. I quickly grabbed tissues from the desk to wipe my nose. My face and hands were stained with bright red blood. The thought of Leo seeing me in such a messy state made me uncomfortable, so I nearly fled into the bathroom in panic. I just have too much internal heat. Flustered and embarrassed, I tossed a perfunctory explanation at Daniel without turning my head, afraid of seeing Leo's mocking expression. So embarrassing. By the time I checked myself in the mirror several times to ensure the bleeding had stopped and emerged from the bathroom, the dorm lights had already been cut off. I moved quietly as I climbed into my bed, careful not to wake Leo sleeping in the opposite bunk. The moment I lay down, my phone lit up, glaring brightly in the pitch-black dorm. I picked up my phone to unlock the screen and was stunned to see Leo's message. Honey, are you okay? Why did your nose bleed? Realizing that Leo, lying head to head with me, wasn't asleep yet, I quickly turned off my phone, pulled the covers over myself, closed my eyes, and pretended to doze off. A second later, a warm breath brushed against my ear. His familiar scent wrapped around me from all directions, and I heard Leo complain softly in my ear with a hint of grievance. Honey, why aren't you replying to my messages? I clenched my fists tightly. My legs under the covers went stiff as a board, and I kept my eyes shut, playing dead. After about 10 seconds, I heard Leo's faint sigh, followed by the rustling sound beside me. He finally gave up trying to talk to me. The next moment, something soft and warm pressed against the side of my face. I paused for 2 seconds before pulling away instantly. I heard Leo lie back down, but I suddenly opened my eyes wide, staring fixedly at the dim white light bulb, my whole body rigid with shock. Was I kissed by Leo again? I felt a warmth in my nose. Panicked, I reached up to touch it, but only relaxed when I realized there was no blood. Good thing it didn't happen again. Believe it or not, I lay awake with my eyes open until dawn. As soon as I closed my eyes, those blindingly pale legs came into view. Who could sleep like that? How can a guy's legs be so fair and clean looking? I decided to go back home and stay for a while. Don't misunderstand. It's not what you think. I just need some time to calm down first. Living under the same roof with Leo every day, being called hubby constantly and acted all sweet toward you. After a while, anyone would start doubting themselves. Once I create some distance and stop seeing Leo so often, I think I'll be able to return to normal quickly enough. I really am straight. Right? Hubby, have you finished dealing with your family matters yet? When are you coming back to the dorm? I was lying at home, idly scrolling through my phone when Leo's message popped up. The moment I saw it, I instinctively sprang upright. It's not like I'm eagerly looking forward to Leo's messages, nor am I deliberately waiting for them. I'm just afraid something might happen in the dorm, and I wouldn't be able to rush over on time. Like if Daniel skipped class again and got caught, or if his confession attempt failed this time. Leo sent 2 text messages and 3 voice recordings. My fingertips hovered over the screen for a second before I pressed down anyway. Leo's soft voice filled my room. Husband, I haven't seen you in the dorm for 3 days. His voice was so pleasant. Hearing it through the earpiece made it sound even gentler, with that deliberately drawn-out ending sounding like a petulant plea for attention. It was so clingy and annoying. My fingers uncontrollably pressed the button again. Husband, I haven't seen you in the dorm for 3 days. Just as I was about to listen to it for the 3rd time, I suddenly snapped out of it and slapped myself. Who is this creepy person? I rubbed my face hard with both hands, picked up my phone again, and listened to the second message. Husband, I'm performing in a modern play at the school auditorium tomorrow night. Are you going to come? No, I definitely won't go. Do I really have that much free time? While firmly rejecting Leo's invitation in my heart as a straight man, I tapped to open the 3rd message. Michael, do you hate me so much that you moved out? Why did he change back to calling my name this time? I paused for a moment. After Leo had been calling me husband to my face for a week, hearing him use my name caught me off guard for a second. Why did he stop calling me husband? Is he mad at me? Thinking this, I hurriedly tapped the message again, listened to it 7 times in a row, and found that his tone indeed wasn't as soft or sweet as the first one. I suddenly stood up from the bed, clutching my phone and pacing barefoot back and forth on the floor, typing furiously at the screen. Come, delete. Why don't you call me hubby anymore? Delete. Let's see how it goes. I grabbed my hair in frustration and, giving up on being careful, closed my eyes and hit send. Leo replied instantly. Oh, what does "oh" mean? It must mean he's upset, right? I gripped my phone, staring at the screen as if trying to burn through it. After agonizing over how to cheer him up for ages without finding a solution, I opened my search app, pondered for a few seconds, and typed out, how to coax a boyfriend. Don't get the wrong idea. I wasn't really treating Leo as my partner. The principle of cheering someone up is basically the same regardless. Am I right or what? It was p.m., with only 19 minutes left until Leo's performance. I sat in the taxi, constantly checking my watch, but at a pace where 5 minutes yielded barely 2 meters of progress. I slapped my forehead in annoyance, regretting not leaving earlier and wondering what I had been doing fussing over 7 or 8 outfits for so long. The line of traffic due to the jam stretched endlessly ahead. Seeing that 8 of the clock was almost upon us, I gritted my teeth, got out of the car, and ran straight toward the school. It wasn't like I really wanted to see Leo's performance that much. It was just that I was afraid he'd be upset if I didn't show up. Coddling people is such a hassle. By the time I pushed open the doors to the auditorium, panting from running up the stairs, the play had already started. I wiped the sweat from my brow and hunched over as I found an empty seat closest to the stage and sat down. My gaze swept around with purpose before finally landing on the person in a white dress standing center stage. Once I made out their face, My breath hitched involuntarily. Leo was already handsome and delicate looking to begin with, but the light makeup only refined his features further. His long black hair fell over his shoulders and neck, enhancing his gentle demeanor until he looked like a porcelain doll. Wow, that person is just too beautiful. I turned my head slightly to glance at the girl, whispering her admiration, and nodded in agreement. Leo never told me he was cross-dressing. I felt my heart beating a little too fast, and I worried that if it went any quicker, the next second I'd have to call an ambulance to take me away for emergency care. What? You're saying I have a crush on him? No way. Leo is dressed as a girl right now, isn't he? Who could resist their heart racing when seeing such a pretty girl like that? I'm completely straight. Hubby. That familiar voice made me sit up straight with a jolt as I looked up at Leo on stage. Seeing him turn sideways, speaking to the man sitting across from him, I suddenly realized he wasn't calling out to me anymore. Habits are truly terrifying things. I even instinctively felt the urge to answer him. My eyes fixed unblinkingly on Leo and the man on stage as they interacted intimately, from hugging to holding hands, and finally kissing. I knew it was mostly for show, but I still clenched my fist tightly, wondering why the scene felt so piercingly harsh. Finally, I shifted a bit of my gaze to the boy standing next to Leo. He wasn't as tall as me. His eyes weren't as big as mine. His legs weren't as long as mine. His nose wasn't as straight as mine. He nearly stumbled while hugging Leo just now. If it were me, carrying Leo for 2 kilometers would be no problem at all. So his strength wasn't as great as mine either. With a scowl, I watched them finish their play. As the audience began to leave one by one, I stood up, hesitated for a moment, and then made my way toward the backstage area. I wouldn't be going home to sleep tonight. It was on the way back anyway, so I could just return to the dorm with Leo together. Thinking this, I stepped into the backstage area, but saw a scene that made me freeze in my tracks. Leo was facing away from me, with the zipper of his skirts back nearly down to his waist. His spine, white and blindingly bright, lay bare without any guard, allowing the person behind him to gaze at it shamelessly. I'll help zip up your costume. Wait a moment. The boy who was performing with Leo bent over, and when he saw his fingers brush against Leo's skin for the 3rd time, I couldn't hold back any longer. I stepped forward and pushed him aside a bit firmly. Let me do it. Both Leo and that boy instinctively turned their heads to look at me. Husband? Leo's soft voice was pleasing to hear, and it instantly cooled the fire that had been rising in me. Leo, have you gotten used to calling me that? Should I call you wife then? The boy standing there, lacking any sense of the situation, clearly misunderstood Leo. I gave him a cold stare without expression. Don't flatter yourself. Leo isn't calling you that at all. Go ahead and call me. You've been calling me that plenty today anyway. I saw Leo smiling sweetly at that boy with his eyes curved in joy, a sight that was painfully glaring to me. Could it be that what he said earlier really wasn't meant for me? I quickly suppressed that thought, gripping Leo's costume and struggling fiercely with the zipper. My other hand held onto Leo's waist, tightening unconsciously. Michael, why are you being so rough? It hurts. I hastily let go, meeting Leo's displeased gaze. I said dryly, it's unzipped. Michael, he stopped calling me hubby as soon as others were around. Am I really someone he wants to hide? With a stern expression, I followed behind Leo, staring at his back as we walked silently to and from our dorm. From that day on, the atmosphere between Leo and me became strange. The thought of Leo perhaps calling other men hubby behind my back made me feel incredibly uneasy. It felt dull and numb, with a hint of pain. I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but Leo had grown increasingly distant towards me these past few days. At midnight, I lay in bed scrolling through our chat history from this period over and over again. On the first day he called me that, he said it 38 times straight, 45 times on the second day, 26 times on the third day, 5 times the day before yesterday, just once yesterday. Wait, including the one he said to my face, that makes 2 times for yesterday. But today? Not a single time. His words are getting colder and more distant. It's only been a few days. Does he really give up on pursuing someone this quickly? What, you think liking straight guys is a dead end? How do you know I won't fall for him? just give it some patience. Anything is possible. Even couples get jealous and try hard to comfort each other. Why can't Leo do the same for me? Of course, I'm not jealous, and I haven't fallen for him either. The more I thought about it, the madder I got. I forced myself to close my eyes, listening to the faint breathing from the opposite bed, and annoyed, pulled the blanket over my head. Why am I the only one who can't sleep? While Leo sleeps so soundly without a care in the world, I absolutely won't be the first to make peace. Every morning when I open my eyes and see Leo ignoring me, it makes my heart ache with anger. So I moved back home again. I was just jolted awake from sleep when I saw Daniel's message. Images of Leo's slender, straight back and those long, fair legs still lingered in my mind. I slapped myself in frustration, grabbed my phone, and opened Daniel's chat window. Why is he contacting me this late? Michael, Leo seems to have a fever. He asked me to bring him medicine, but I won't be back in the dorm tonight. If you're around, could you buy him some fever reducer? I was stunned for a moment, then sat up in shock. Without time to change clothes, I rummaged through the first aid kit, grabbed a handful of medicine and stuffed it into my arms, threw on a jacket, and rushed out the door. How could he have a fever? He seemed perfectly fine during class today. As soon as I got out of the car, I ran toward the dormitory at full speed. My hand gripping the key was trembling uncontrollably as I opened the door. The dormitory was dim and dark. Daniel and the others were nowhere to be seen, so I turned on the light and immediately looked toward Leo's bed. He was curled up at the foot of the bed, tightly wrapped in his blanket. His forehead was covered in sweat, his face flushed red from the heat, and tears clung to his eyelashes. Leo? I called his name softly, but he kept his eyes tightly shut, his brows furrowed in discomfort. Feeling anxious, I reached out to check his temperature. Fortunately, the fever wasn't too severe. Just as I was about to grab a damp towel to wipe away his sweat, my hand was suddenly caught. I could feel the slight heat of Leo's face against my palm. Felt quite warm, causing me to flinch involuntarily, but I dared not pull away. My thumb gently brushed away the tear at the corner of his eye as I lowered my voice instinctively and coaxed him. I'll go get you some medicine. Take it, and your fever will break down. Okay. But Leo, unwell as he was, wouldn't let me go easily, shaking his head wildly. No, husband. I stiffened slightly and coughed, pretending not to hear. Following his grip, I brushed the sweaty hair away from his forehead. Be good. I didn't know if Leo understood, but he kept pressing my hand firmly to stop me from leaving. His voice even caught with emotion as he repeatedly called out, "Husband." My Adam's apple bobbed violently a few times as I looked at Leo's slightly pouted lips. Why was he sounding so pitiful? The small, enclosed dorm room made it a bit hard to breathe. Besides, there was no one else in the dorm anyway. No one could hear us anyway. My heart was pounding so loud it felt like thunder. I stared straight at Leo, and after hearing his hoarse, aggrieved voice again, I couldn't help but answer him. I realized my own voice sounded incredibly rough. Leo didn't calm down after I answered. He just held my hand and pressed it against his face, nuzzling against it like a little animal, repeating over and over, "Hubby, it hurts." I couldn't help but tighten my grip on his hand, leaning down to smooth out the furrow between his brows with my fingers. I'm here. I didn't get any sleep all night again. Leo, being sick, was incredibly clingy. He tossed and turned for most of the night before his fever finally broke. I looked at my hand, still firmly held by Leo who wouldn't let go, and felt a sense of relief that I had come over. I couldn't even imagine what others might do if they saw him in this state. Seeing him look so pitiful really made my heart melt completely. So I took the initiative and wrapped my hand around Leo's. If you call me hubby, you're not allowed to call anyone else that. The next day, I didn't bring up what had happened at night. Leo didn't ask much either. He just gave me a distant thank you, without clinging to me like before or insisting on treating me to movies and dinner. I didn't know why Leo had gotten tired of it so quickly, or perhaps, him calling me hubby was really just because he lost a game of truth or dare. My chest felt incredibly heavy, and I didn't dare let my mind wander any further. Doesn't the way I'm so insecure right now make me sound anything but straight? I don't know. It's just that I can't stand it when Leo ignores me. Leo, wanna grab dinner tonight? Leo, there's a new escape room nearby. I racked my brains trying to find ways to ask Leo out, but he always made excuses about being too busy to see me. Michael, are you going singing this Saturday night? I wasn't interested. I turned to leave and said, not my thing, come on. Leo already agreed, and our dorm hasn't hung out together in ages. I paused, turned to look at Daniel, and said, fine. After singing for hours on end, everyone was getting a bit tired. I saw Leo leaning against the sofa, eyelids drooping, with his arms folded across his chest. After a moment's hesitation, I picked up a jacket nearby and placed it on Leo's lap. In the end, there were only so many games left to play. Truth or Dare went around a few times, and finally, the bottle pointed at me. Let's go with truth. Michael, what kind of ideal wife do you have in mind? Daniel's teasing noise was giving me a headache, so I instinctively glanced at Leo, who was eating with his head down. He didn't look at me. I lowered my eyes and looked away. Someone delicate, who loves to act coquettishly, but also likes to ignore me. Are you implying I'm talking about Leo? Right, you've figured it out. So why isn't Leo reacting at all? I stared fixedly at Leo, watching him force a polite smile along with everyone else's laughter, acting completely indifferent. I've made my hint so obvious. Why is Leo still not responding? Could it be that he really only called me husband because of the dare? Did he never have any feelings for me from start to finish? Images of Leo's cute and mischievous expressions flashed through my mind. I thought those moments belonged solely to me, unseen by anyone else. I thought our connection was unique and special. Is it really all just my own delusion? My limbs seemed to turn cold instantly. My head felt stuffed with cotton, like 10,000 bees were buzzing wildly inside, creating a deafening noise that made the chatter of those around me seem distant and unclear. I picked up the glass in front of me and downed it in one gulp. I have no idea how I got back home. It wasn't until I heard the knocking that I slowly regained consciousness. My head was pounding terribly, and I don't know how long I lay there on the floor, with bottles scattered all over the table. As my memory returned, just thinking about that heartless Leo caused sharp pains in my chest. So, what was I to him these past half a month? How could he just lead me on like that and then walk away with a casual remark about it being just a joke? The knocking was relentless, as if he'd be there pounding on the door until the end of time if I didn't open it. I muttered a curse under my breath, pushed myself up from the table with trembling legs, and by the time I opened the door, I'd already rehearsed 10,000 insults in my head. Leo stood obediently at the door, looking startled as if he'd been caught off guard by the sudden opening of the door. He stepped back twice, his eyes wide with a hint of panic as he looked at me. I'm such a fool. He'd played with my feelings so thoroughly that I felt like he had nothing left of me, and yet the very first thing on my mind was, Leo looked so handsome. Logically, I should have slammed the door shut and ignored him no matter what he said or how much he begged. But as soon as our eyes met, my words twisted 180 degrees before they even reached my lips, coming out dry and flat. What are you doing here? I heard you've been drinking at home and refusing to see Daniel and the others. I wanted to check on you. May I come in? Leo clasped his hands together, looking a bit nervous as he blinked at me, so my no turned into an indifferent whatever. My head still felt heavy, as if rusted in place and unable to think clearly. I stared blankly as Leo walked into the kitchen. I'll make you some tea to help with the hangover. Instinctively, I followed him behind. The dizzy sensation of my head feeling light and feet heavy forced me to lean against the kitchen doorway. Watching that familiar back, I felt a sudden pang in my nose. I must be truly drunk. Otherwise, how could I have said such aggrieved and bitter words? Wife, why won't you call me husband anymore? You've been lying to me for half a month. Can't you just keep lying? Can't you really be my wife? I blurted out all the sadness, confusion, and grievance I had been holding onto for days. I stood there blankly watching Leo turn around and walk closer step by step. My brain was already overloaded and couldn't process anything further, so at that moment, I didn't even wonder why he wasn't surprised to know about this game of truth or dare. Guess why you're at the top of my contact list? Leo's warm breath brushed against my neck. I swallowed hard and stammered, why, you've always been my pinned contact. Leo tilted his head back and gave me a gentle wink. I stared at his slightly parted lips, and the wave of drunkenness hit me again. My palms were already sweaty, and Leo's pleasant scent wrapped around me from every direction. Lost in the moment, I closed my eyes and pressed mine against those soft lips. Leo's arm gently wrapped around my neck, responding to me with a shy tenderness. So what if I'm gay? I just like Leo. What's wrong with that?